we can just start with a kind of, what have you been doing since you graduated? So what have you been up to?
Yeah, it's been a busy time. I graduated in 2014, I believe. So it's been a few years already. And since then, I completed my master's in social work. I was a social worker for a few years. And then I came back and I just finished law school. I'm just completing my my articling now. And then, yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been up to. I've really brought with me what I learned during my undergrad, both in my anthropology and in my French experience. As a social worker, I worked with people from in all walks of life, in very different circumstances. And I think that the empathy and kind of the critical thinking skills that I learned on the anthropology side of things helped me with that. And on the French side of things, I'm a francophone, just a Franco-Ontarian, but being able to brush up on my reading and writing and comprehension skills in French, I worked pretty much solely in French as a social worker, so that was very helpful. And it was recognized as well. So that's pretty much what I've been up to.
Well, congratulations. So
Thank
before
you.
we go on, 6 years out and you have a master's in social work and you're going to be a lawyer. Like that's very impressive.
But I've recently determined that, the big law experience, the corporate law experience is maybe not for me. I'm not really in line with my social work background. So I've actually recently accepted a position at a legal clinic. So I'll be working in French and in English, in housing law, immigration law, things like that. So kind of more in my wheelhouse. I could really apply what I learned in my undergrad, as well as my master's in social work, and as well as my studies in law, kind of all come together for this upcoming position. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that does seem like it's a kind of a confluence of, the social work, wanting to help people, and then combining that with the law background as well. So that's great. That seems like that fits, as you said, really well.
It took me a while, and I think everybody has their own trajectory when it comes to that, finding their kind of their place. But I feel like this is the right fit for me. So I'm pretty excited to take on that next challenge. My family's in Sudbury, and I knew that I loved Ottawa. I had gone to the Carleton open house and just toured the campus, and I fell in love with it. And I really fell in love with the anthropology department. I met some of the professors there, and they just seemed to know their students more personally and things like that. And I knew that, social work was an interest, but I wasn't completely sure. So I decided to undertake studies in social science just to see how things went. And I really enjoyed my first year in anthropology. I lived on res, and that was an interesting experience as well. And then in first year, I met Professor Catherine Cordoc through one of our world literature classes, and I really fell in love with that class. And she kind of explained to me and expanded my horizons when it came to French literature. It's not just, your typical French authors. Like, you have people and authors from all over the world, and that is what I really became interested in, because it was kind of a complement to my studies in anthropology. I studied anthropology, but I also studied anthropology in terms of studying different literature from different cultures and things like that. So that really complemented itself. So that's kind of where I decided to do a double major in French and anthropology, was after first year. And I know some people change their ideas as they go, and that's completely fine. And that's what happened to me. And I'm really grateful for it, because I had the opportunities in both. And that's the great thing about like a BA, is that it's very versatile. So you could explore your interests, but also see what else there is out there. So yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of your most memorable experiences at Carleton as a student?
Yeah, I think my most memorable one, and this is a personal life event. So I met my husband at Carleton. We were neighbors on res, and we've been together since then. So that is great. He studied criminology, and I was in French and literature. So we got to help each other out quite a bit, and, study together and things like that. So that is, a pretty big event. But some of my more my very memorable experiences at Carleton, for example, I met lots of my very close friends there, and we're still close today. We still have our Friday night book club where we discuss what we're reading in French literature and things like that. So that's great. And I also participated in the French department. They had an exchange in Quebec for a few weeks where you could go and study in Quebec, and that was a great experience, because it kind of forced you to face your fears of having to speak with profs and things like that, and that was great. And you got to know people as well. So, you know, I did that, I think, in second or third year. And the people that I met during that brief exchange remained friends for the following years of my undergrad. And I think another really interesting aspect of my experience at Carleton were all the different opportunities I got to explore. It was either intramurals on, you know, like the personal physical well-being side of things, or academically, I was a research assistant. And that was a great opportunity. I got to do a co-op at the federal government. That was also a great opportunity. I really got to know my professors as well, either through the French department or in the anthropology department. In the anthropology department specifically, I got to know my thesis, you know, like your undergrad thesis director, a lot better, and kind of explore, you know, if a master's in anthropology was for me, or in French and things like that. And I knew those were avenues that were available to me if, you know, I was interested in it. And one of the things that I really enjoyed at Carleton was that, and it was a very memorable experience, although it was very difficult. As a francophone arriving at Carleton, I didn't speak or write English very well. And I received a lot of support through the library and through the workshops on how to better my English writing. And I think that is one of the most challenging but the best experiences I had during my undergrad, because in first year I had a professor, you know, give me a really bad grade on a paper, but he had written at the bottom of the paper, like, come see me after class, like we will set you up with resources so you can improve. And like I did, and you know, the final paper, it wasn't an A+, but it was close enough at the end of the year. He commented, he's like, come see me again. And we had another, you know, exchange on like how I had improved and how I could keep improving. So I really appreciated that experience, just the supports and things like that. So those are more of the memorable side of things.
And that's a great, I mean, that's a great advertisement for, we're always telling students, come see us in our office hours, we can help. But there's a good example of, look, you know, an opportunity, and you took it, and there was help there, kind of thing. So I think that's great.
I think there's the academic side, like there's the academic piece of your experience as an undergrad or a master's student, and that's very important, and you have the supports and things that you need for that. But there's also the experience side of things, and I think to have a well-rounded experience as an undergrad, a master's student, just, you know, a student in general, you need a little bit of both. And that's what I liked about Carleton, is that they offered a little bit of both. And so if I wanted to pursue a co-op or a research assistant position, or a position on campus, or if I wanted to participate in any kind of mentorship program, like they had that. And so, yeah, I think it was very important, because, you know, what got me into my master's position was, yes, my grades, but also the experience that I had had as a research assistant. So I had been a research assistant to 2 or 3 different professors, and that was really important because they could vouch for me and provide me with reference letters and just support me and things like that. And also my co-op as well kind of determined, okay, like, because you know, I enjoyed several aspects of this co-op, but I know it's not necessarily for me. Like, what do I want to do next with my undergrad? It gave me a taste of what I could do with my BA, and then what I could also like pursue in the future with it. So if that makes sense. And so, yes, the experience piece of things was very important, and lots of volunteering and mentorship, like I said, opportunities as well. So yeah, that was great.
What advice do you wish that you had gotten as an undergrad, or what would you provide to somebody just starting off their degree?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing, and I had the opportunity to mention this to a few first years, is that I was always an A student in high school, and I expected things to remain the same. But I think the learning curve is very different in university. And it's not to say that if you don't do well, you can't do well. It's just, I think that you need to learn different things. And it's not only in terms of academics, like I mentioned, it's also the experience of going through your undergrad and learning how to integrate life as an adult and things like that. So it goes very well for some people, and for some others, it's challenges. So just to give yourself time to kind of find out what works for you, where you want to be, and things like that. And that's reflected a bit in my change in, you know, adding a double major and things like that. And I think that, you know, when you are deciding from high school to go to university, it's not a change that you can't make another change on, you know, like you can be flexible. I was very well supported by the administrative staff there and things like that. So I think asking for help is like very important. As well as we had already discussed on it a bit too, but the experience versus the academic side of things, like I really appreciated that. And I have received comments that, you know, because I had such a strong undergrad experience in both, the experiential side and also the academic side, that made me an excellent candidate for a master's program. Or even if you just wanted to go directly into the job market afterwards, like that was what distinguished me from somebody who had done solely academics or hadn't been able to focus on academics and done solely experiential. So that's what I would recommend. And I think getting to know your professors as well. Like I was unsure about getting to know them as my professors in different classes, even the classes where there's hundreds of students. I mean, you don't have to get to know each other on a first name basis, but to do research on, what the professor is doing and get to know them and have those after class chats and any other activities that the campus is hosting, coffees or presentations or conferences and things like that. Like getting to know the faculty is very important because they might be resources that you don't know about until you get to know them. So that was great. And so, yeah, those are my recommendations to future students. And so I feel like I have to say that like I felt very much prepared leaving my undergrad at Carleton. So it was great. I think your undergraduate experience is what you make of it as well. So if you want to maximize your experience, like to go out there and get it, I think that's very beneficial, and I recommend that students do that. For me, Carleton was first off, like where it was in the city was very nice. The campus is very nice. It had lots of services. The residences were great. I mean, like residences are always a challenge because you're with a lot of people who are coming from all kinds of walks of life and have, different sleeping schedules. So things like that, But in general, I had a great experience. Lots of networking and things like that in terms of like, campus life. You were close to the gym and the facilities were great and things like that. And that's really important to me. Just having a balanced life between, academics, but also your well-being, mental health and physical health and things like that. So if you're looking for a balance and that, Carleton is great for that. And then there's the academic side of things as well. Is just the professors know what they're doing. They have experience and they also care about you, like we discussed. The supports are there as well. And there's also opportunity to really become invested in your faculty and things like that. Like I mentioned, like positions in co-op or as research or teaching assistants when you get to the master's level, or just like directed researches and things like that, like smaller classes that are more focused on different areas. So it's not always your 300 student classes. You can really become focused in your interest and specialize as well. And so that's why I liked Carleton for that. It has not been my experience in later years of academics, but we don't have to get there. And I think the people are great. Like you have the campus life, the academics, and then just like the people are great. So I still have a relationship with some of my professors and with the people I've met there. I felt pretty well supported. There's lots of opportunities to meet people personally, but also professionally, start making connections and establishing a network. Especially for me, I don't come from the Ottawa area. And so it was important for me to get to know people and so that I can be connected. And that's, how I learned about the master's program at Carleton and at the University of Ottawa and things like that. And, I had the support of professors, even though I wasn't coming back to Carleton, like they helped me accomplish future goals. And so I really enjoyed that piece of my experience at Carleton. And I would suggest that is one of the reasons why I chose it. Besides that, I got some great scholarships as well. Like funding was great. I had good grades in high school. And so that was beneficial to me. And I was able to apply on other scholarships while I was in my undergrad and things like that. So that was great, just like financing and financial support and the jobs on campus and things like that. So that was great. The co-op center is great. So yeah.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. It's always good to hear.